how can you actually have more connection with community? Well, our nuclear families, right? We live in nuclear families in isolation now, which is hard. We sequester our elders away in nursing homes. That's our wisdom, sequestered away. We have dependence on nuclear parents. It's very hard to be a parent nowadays. It's a beautiful story. Again, this is with the community of Kalahari Bushmen I work with, and we were all sitting around, and one of the people who'd come with us asked a really great question. He said, Kakao, was the man they asked, what is your role as a parent? And remember, they live in intergenerational communities, aunties, uncles, grannies, grandmas, everything. What is your role as a parent? And the answer was incredible. My only job as a parent, he said, is to love my children. No discipline, no teaching, none of that. My only job as a parent is to love my children. And my heart sort of stopped. I thought, oh gosh, that sounds fantastic. Oh, now there's aunties and uncles that will teach, that will mentor, that will discipline, because it's not that they don't discipline the children or they don't teach the children. They're teaching them all the time. They just don't do it the way we do. So his role as a parent is just to love his children. That's it. All they get from him is love. Now, he has nieces and nephews, etc., whom he teaches and whom he disciplines. But never would a parent step in. And I've seen that. I remember there was a boy about 15 working on doing his hand drill fire, which is when you rub two sticks together to get a coal to put into a tinder bundle to get a fire. And he wasn't quite doing it right. His dad was right there. He didn't say a word. But the uncle, Uta, came up. And Uta went up and showed him, his nephew, how to do it. The dad never stepped in, never said anything. Didn't even really look, because it wasn't his job. Now, have you ever told your kids something and they don't really listen because it's you, right? Yes, but when someone else says something, woo, how fantastic. Yeah, now fostering that would be incredible. So how do you foster that? You foster that by fostering community. How do you foster community when you live in nuclear homes? It's very hard. One of my favorite ways to do it, and this sounds so simple, it's like gratitude, right? It's super simple. How could it work? Works. Potlucks. Okay? My old neighborhood, I just moved a year ago. My old neighborhood, I lived in Portland, Oregon, and in our neighborhood, we had monthly potlucks that would rotate houses, and everyone hosted every month. You always knew one Saturday a month, we knew them in advance, where the potluck was going to be. Well, that meant my kids now knew everybody on the block. It meant that I knew everybody. It meant that when my neighbors needed to run to the grocery store, their kids came in my house. It meant that my kids had an open door policy with their house. All of a sudden, I'm living in a community. It was fantastic because we all had an open door policy with each other's kids, and we could rely on people. I also started an every other week potluck with a nature group. Nature Nexus, we called it. It was a group in Portland, people who were interested in nature. It's the only real requirement. People would bring people. Ages from, had a newborn baby up through someone who was 82. Intergenerational, right? My kids have aunties and uncles now from that. 5 years until I moved. Now we still have it as a listserv and as a, hey, we're gonna go mushroom picking, anyone wanna go? It's still a big email list with 200 people on it, and people still use it to connect. Every other week on a Wednesday, because there was nothing going on a Wednesday. It's a great night to do something. No one has plans on a Wednesday. Yeah. So every other week on a Wednesday, a standing thing at my house. Everyone would bring food. It was super easy. There were nights I didn't want to do it. I'm exhausted. It's 5. People are coming at 6:30. I'm thinking, oh, I just want to go to bed. You know how happy I felt when people got there and after they left? It was always better. Because it's so easy to sequester yourself and you're tired. You've worked hard. It's very easy to sequester yourself, but when you have something that's a standing commitment and other people are showing up, you have to be there. And for me, I loved hosting it. It might sound hard, but for me it was easier because it meant I didn't have to get in my car and drive somewhere and go to someone else's house. Just people came to me. I loved it. And other people were appreciative because I had a big enough space to host people. potluck sounds so simple, but the community that got fostered in Portland because of those potluck still holds today and has changed so many people's lives and has formed aunties and uncles and friendships and people now working together. They were all from different fields of nature connection, now working together in different fields. So that works. That leads to things like intergenerational living and learning, right? Again, I talked about how we sequester our elders away. And my mom lives across the country. She lives in Massachusetts. I live on the West Coast. She lives on the East Coast. We visit often, but it's hard not to have elders around me and my children, right? So getting to know people in the community. My garden club is wonderful. Everyone's older than me, and it's fantastic. I love that it's a different generation. But having something like those potlucks brought in people from all generations mingling every other week. This is a big one, asking for help. This is hard. I don't know why we all have such a hard time with this. Anyone else have a problem asking for help? It's hard to ask people for help when you need it. You feel like you're inconveniencing them. But how do you feel when someone asks you for help? I'm not talking on a huge presentation or something that's going to take all your time. I'm talking like, hey, can I drop my kid off for an hour because I'm going grocery shopping, or it's a new baby, or could you help with dinner this night, or could you come over and just sit with me? I'm feeling really down. People actually like to help. It gives us a sense of purpose. And remember, purpose equals happiness equals joy, right? I forget that all the time when I have to ask someone for help. I'm like, oh God, I have to ask someone for help. I have to consciously remind myself that they are actually getting just as much out of it, or maybe even more than I am. People like to help. Having a sense of purpose and being truly helpful is a really wonderful quality, and people want to help. So think about that next time you need help. It's going to be better for you, and it's going to be better for someone else, and you're going to form a connection relationship. Because you know what's going to happen if you ask them for help? They're going to call you the next time they need help. And then you get to call on them again. It's a really great way to form connection. Now, all of this sort of comes under the umbrella of what Aldo Leopold calls eco-centric awareness. This is bringing the things I just talked about, the self, community, and nature all together. Those are the three connective pieces. To have a true culture, and this is why I think we're lacking a true culture. When people say Western culture, I disagree. I say it's Western non-culture. Because to have a true culture, you need connection to self, connection to others, connection to nature, and we keep losing it. To have a true culture, you have eco-centric awareness, which Leopold coined this term in reference to people who understood that. They understood this interdependent relationships of self, the earth, and community. There's a great South African tribal expression, ubuntu, which means you're generous, you're hospitable, you're friendly and caring and compassionate. You share what you have, and you say, my humanity is bound up in yours. We belong to a bundle of life. Interconnection is key.